The Datascape is now available on Spotify. Go check us out. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy, and welcome to the Datascape. I'm here joined by my co-host Noir Lil Bomber, and today, as of this recording at least, I don't know when you guys are going to see this, but as of today, it has officially been over a month since the cancellation of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. That also means it's been a month since the screenshots, which was actually our last podcast episode. But we haven't made a podcast talking about Missing Link's cancellation, so this is going to be a little bit of a, I don't know if I want to say doom and gloomy episode, but we're going to be talking about all things Missing Link and the future of Kingdom Hearts, and just everything revolving this topic, because this is a pretty hot topic in the fandom. A lot of debates, a lot of arguments about it. Nothing too serious, but just there's a lot of different feelings, a lot of different opinions, because this is really not the first, but one of the few times a Kingdom Hearts game has gotten canceled at least this far into development. A significant game that we knew was going to have canon story elements getting canceled. I think all the other canceled Kingdom Hearts games or lost media Kingdom Hearts games are usually things like VCast, which technically wasn't canceled, but it's not really accessible via normal means anymore. You also had things like Coded, you had Fragmented Keys. Just a lot of these projects that the word canceled maybe doesn't fit for them, but just projects lost media for Kingdom Hearts. And Missing Link is now going to be another one of those games added to that lost media folder. And similarly to a lot of those games, there's another mobile game that's been added to that list. So how you feeling?
Honestly, I feel very disappointed that Missing Link was canceled. I get there might have been a lot of reasons behind the scenes why they had to come to that decision, since it looked like, just based on just how they were trying to market Missing Link and the beta test, they were really trying to make it work, right? You could definitely see the effort, but it just couldn't work out. And it's really unfortunate, and it's obviously very disappointing for any Kingdom Hearts fans, just because, I mean, as you said, this was like a canon Kingdom Hearts game, and it got canceled, and this is a very rare thing in the Kingdom Hearts series. Like, very rarely are games announced and then just never show up, right? It could be a case where a game is announced and then altered, maybe, but for the most part, canceled Kingdom Hearts games almost never happens, right? Because I will say this, Nomura is someone that hates to drop an idea, right? He hates to do that.
Yep, verse
So
13, perfect example.
verse 13 is a perfect example. Also, Melody and Memory is a perfect example, because Nomura had been wanting to make a rhythm game since verse 13 was first announced. Right. But he could never really get around to making that, because along with verse 13 and all that headache for 10 years, he was dealing with the rest of the Kingdom Hearts series, and he obviously couldn't make those rhythm games because it really wouldn't have worked that well if he did that. And but he kept that idea going all the way up until he finally made Melody and Memory, because realistically, he probably could have just made a whole nother episode in Remind that would have gone over the details in Missing Link. Since I have said before, Missing Link, or not Missing Link, Melody and Memory feels more like an episode Kyrie for the Remind scenario than its full on game.
I would agree with that. Melody of Memory, I often say, well, I don't know if I say this often, but I often think, at least, Melody of Memory is one of the more inconsequential, or it's one of the more forgettable slash skippable pieces of lore. I don't mean that as in Kyra's character development isn't important, Riku going to Quadratum isn't important, but as in these Melody of Memory, really, if they really wanted to sum up what happened in Melody of Memory, they could do it in probably a 3-minute cutscene in Kingdom Hearts 4. Like you could tell they definitely add that stuff at the end of Melody of Memory to kind of just like give us at least a little bit of something, you know, because they knew it probably would have been a while. Melody of Memory was the last console release for Kingdom Hearts, by the way. Um, it's about to have been like 5 years since Melody of Memory last dropped. It dropped in November of 2020. I often say it's been 5 years since we've gotten a Kingdom Hearts console release in KH3 Remind. Uh, it's been a while. But with Missing Link's cancellation, Missing Link was going to offer a lot more story than something like Melody of Memory was envisioned to. Missing Link was introducing new Kingdom Hearts characters, something that Key Saga very often does. A new era, a missing era. Like literally, it being called Missing Link, it's there's so much irony in it now. The game was advertised as the Blink period, the Blink era. This was a story that was forgotten about by every other like era in Kingdom Hearts, every other time period. So some sort of calamity, some sort of big thing obviously happens at the end of Missing Link that makes all this lore, all this other stuff kind of, you know, disappear. There was a leaks about the game leaking some of the lore details, and just not anything major, but some of the lore details that were like in the files. We got so many Disney worlds that were potentially going to be in that game. Like this was a really like fleshed out project, and even though I've been very vocal on Twitter talking about how I do think Kingdom Hearts, I want to make my stance again clear on this. I do think Kingdom Hearts should be done with mobile games. As much as I love the mobile games, and as much as I have fostered a community, like I asked my server this morning, right before this podcast episode, I asked him, we do question of the days in our Discord, so if you want to join the Discord, link below. But I asked my Discord, how do you feel about Mr. Link's cancellation? And it was to like kind of get the brain like gears moving for the episode today. And a lot of people in my server, they don't agree with like some of my takes. They feel like Missing Link, they were hurt by Missing Link's cancellation. They didn't like that the game got canceled. And one perspective I want to share that a lot of them felt like is a lot of the number titles mostly focus on Sora. Sora is clearly the main character of Kingdom Hearts. And one of the things about non-number titles that makes them so interesting, and this is something that KH3 actually got a little bit of criticism for, Kingdom Hearts 3 is about saving the other characters. Aqua, Ventus, Terra, Roxas, Aqua, Xion, saving these trios, these other characters, but you don't really get to play as them that much outside of like singular fights, even in Remind. So in these other games, in these non-number tiles, you get to play as other Kingdom Hearts characters, get to see their abilities fleshed out, get to see their stories more fleshed out. A lot of what makes Roxas some people's favorite character is in Days. A lot of what makes Ventus some people's favorite character, or Terra or Aqua, is in games like Birth by Sleep, 0.2. A lot of what makes people love Riku as much as they do isn't just what happens in KH2 or 1, but what happens in Chain of Memories, what happens in Days, what happens in Dream Drop. So these non-number tiles really do serve as a way to flesh out characters that are not Sora. Even though I love Sora, Sora's my favorite. It's been clear on this podcast, he's my favorite character, but that is a benefit. That's something I do like about those. And that's something with Missing Link, people aren't going to get the chance to. Even though these were new characters, not characters we've seen before, people are already making theories about the bloodlines and like the story like parameters around this. Like they were seeing where like certain bloodlines would lead, like Nept and Missing Link and the Baruch Society potentially being some ancestor to Aqua's bloodline. Like there was a lot of stuff there. There was just a lot there that people were interested and invested in.
I will also say that one of the bigger things is not just the fact that they clearly have this big story in mind, it's the fact that they've already structured their story around telling the story of Missing Link, and now I'm wondering how is that going to happen?
I'm actually not that worried about that for KH4, right?
Yeah, for KH4 and more or less like the future of the series.
So let's be honest with ourselves. The these pieces of lore matter a lot to Kingdom Hearts, and I'm more worried about Union Cross and maybe even a little bit of Dark Road being like properly told in KH4 than I am Missing Link. Missing Link, even though Sigurd was the narrator in the KH4 trailer, we don't know why. We didn't learn anything about Sigurd. I wish we did, because if he's the narrator, that means he might have a role in the game to play. But while things will definitely be missing there a little bit, I'm not as worried about that, because we felt a similar way going into Kingdom Hearts 3 from Key Browser and Union Cross. Remember, like a week before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, or a couple weeks, Larxene had like just been revealed as another character. Elrena was just revealed to be in Union Cross. We just found out a couple weeks beforehand. We already knew Larxene was in KH3. We just found out that, oh, okay, Larxene's like over 100 plus years old, at least timeline wise, right? So how does that work? Like, are we gonna unlock her memories in KH3? Like, we didn't actually get that much Union Cross like direct follow-ups in 3. We more so got set pieces. Like, we got seeds planted for Union Cross, like the Keyblade Legacy cutscene, Marluxia and Larxene's death scenes. We got some very vague and like weird like quotes about the Book of Prophecies from like Xehanort. We didn't really get any direct follow-ups from Union Cross or the Key Saga, aside from the epilogue, and most of that's Key back cover and not the mobile games themselves. Marluxia's story, Larxene's story, like a lot of these things, knowing them enhances Kingdom Hearts 3's experience, but they weren't necessary to play KH3. And I kind of feel like that's going to be a similar case with Missing Link, where it's not necessary to play Missing Link, because I think Missing Link was going to be ongoing anyways, and we were going to be getting updates like after KH4 released even. I don't think the story was going to be finished before KH4. I think it was just meant to kind of trot us along, similar to Union Cross. But I don't know. The main glaring thing for KH4 is Strelitzia. I feel like what they're about to do is they're going to introduce Strelitzia as this sort of like ambiguous character. We know who she is from Union Cross, but new players maybe don't. They don't have as much to go off of. They'll tease
evidenced by articles people posted after Kingdom Hearts 4's announcement.
Yeah.
Who's the mystery girl?
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen too. I knew. You know, it's funny because if you saw, did you ever see the 20th anniversary recap video?
I believe I did.
Like, they showed the crowd and everything when they revealed Kingdom Hearts 4. Like, I remember the Japanese crowd, they popped off at Strelitzia. Like, it goes to show, like, obviously the Japanese crowd, they play these mobile games. They know what's up. Obviously, if we're going to an anniversary event for Kingdom Hearts, you're probably a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan. I want to imagine, even though it was invite only and random. But I want to imagine you're super into Kingdom Hearts. But that crowd, when they saw Strelitzia, there was a pop. There was a pop in the crowd. But, another example I can make. So, you know how the release timeline for Kingdom Hearts goes Kingdom Hearts 1, GBA, Chain of Memories, then Kingdom Hearts 2. A lot of people even skipped over GBA, Chain of Memories, because, of course they did, right? In Kingdom Hearts 2, a lot of people were basically introduced to Axel for the first time, introduced to Axel and Roxas's dynamic for the first time, even though you have Days that you could potentially watch before it. A lot of people recommend watching Days after. But the way people like to tell you to play Kingdom Hearts is play Days after, or watch Days after KH2. Like, that scene with like Roxas and Axel, and Roxas leaving the organization in KH2, and like some of those little scenes, it's clear that Axel and Roxas have a like relationship, a bond in the organization, but you don't know like the full context. Like, how exactly did he leave? Why did he leave? You get more of that in Days. And I think a similar thing's going to happen with Strelitzia and Marluxia or Strelitzia and Lauriam in KH4 or future titles, where you have this sort of like ambiguous nature, like storytelling regarding their relationship. Maybe they tease and tell you that they're brother and sister, but you don't know all the details yet because they're going to make a Union Cross remaster that's going to tell you after. I think they're going to do a similar sort of like effect. They can still tell the story without giving you every little detail along the way. Like I have full confidence they can do that because they've done it before numerous times.
Yeah, and honestly, because the way that they went through Kingdom Hearts 3's story, it was obviously they dropped some major hints, or not hints, but references to Union Cross's story. Like, say, for instance, when Zemnis had talked to numbers 9 through 11, and he's like, "Why do you think we brought you guys into the organization?" And he says, "You guys have the ancient Keyblade legacy within you." And of course, anyone that's played Union Cross is like, okay, well, we already knew about Marluxia and Larxene because of Union Cross, but this also means that Demyx and Luxord are also a part of that, right? And then there's also Chirithy, because when Chirithy first showed up, we didn't know that that was Ventus's Chirithy. But then when Sora's like, "Aren't you waiting for someone?" And he says, "Yeah, but he doesn't remember the past." The second he said that, I was like, oh, he belongs to Ventus. And there's also obviously Marluxia and Larxene's death scenes in Kingdom Hearts 3, where they obviously have a reference to Union Cross, Marluxia more so than Larxene, where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm remembering my purpose for being. Thank you, Sora." Right? Obviously, his purpose for being is to find his sister. So I know that Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to do that, but the problem is, like, when you make the references, it's kind of expected that everyone knows the full story already, right? But now we won't know anything about Sigurd's story and him with the original or with the reincarnated player. We won't know about Gothic Scholar Kylum. We won't know anything about Brain unless he shows up in Kingdom Hearts 4. So
Yeah, I am concerned about Brain because I actually do feel like Brain was being set up to be an important character, or maybe he was meant to just be an important character for the Key Saga. Ephemer actually.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, just because
Really?
the way that Ericus had talked about him, it made it seem like Brain might not be dead. He might still be alive. In which case, Missing Link would probably tell the story about how not only did he come to have a family, but also where he has been since Ericus is like, well, because Baldur was like, "Oh, your grandfather had battled darkness before, right?" And then Ericus quickly like cuts him off. He's like, "Oh yeah, no, I honestly I don't really know what happened to him," as if he was trying to hide something.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know what they do with these other characters. I I feel like Ephemer, for example, his story. I don't want to. I don't know if I want to say ended, but it has a clear like cutoff point when you see him as the founder of Scholar Kylum. Like, it's hard to say if a lot of these Union Cross characters, like, okay, Marluxia, Larxene, Ventus, like, these characters are, you already know, they were introduced first in our timeline. It was a twist when we found out they were in the other one. So, when they're in this other part of the timeline. So, like, these other characters, Brain, Skull's probably going to come back, but characters like Brain, characters like Ephemer, Nept, what was the other girl's name? Flera, Freya.
Freya.
Yeah, Freya in Missing
Jeez, man,
Link.
don't you know your Nordic gods? What's wrong with you?
Bro, chill. I was waiting for the game to
play
release.
God of War Ragnarok.
Look, I was waiting
please.
for the game to release. Look, I corrected myself. I got it. I messed up the first time, but I got it. You also had Remus. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but I'm gonna say Remus. So you had all these other characters in in the Key Saga. It's hard to say if these characters would have still been around. Sigurd is one, even though we haven't seen much of him at all. He feels like a character that might have been around later. Like, I don't know why. He feels like a character might have been around later. And Luxord and Demyx, by the way, and their Keyblade legacy, I feel like they were probably going to show up in Missing Link at some point. A lot of people expected them to show up in Union Cross. They did not. People were thinking maybe they might show up in Dark Road. They did not. So Missing Link being the last like little missing piece of the Key Saga, if they have this Keyblade legacy, quote unquote, they must be there, right? They must be there. They have to be to a degree. I don't know if these other characters would have returned. Like it's hard to say. Maybe I feel like for the majority of Missing Link's cast, their story probably would have ended in Missing Link, like at the end of Missing Link. Some way, somehow, would have been another tragedy in Union Cross. Everyone dies, everyone gets cooked, everyone falls asleep, and you know, that happens. I I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I'm like, I can't. It's hard to be worried when I don't know what they were going to do. So, like, the story for Kingdom Hearts, unless they really did tie Kingdom Hearts story that much to Missing Link, which I personally think would have been a mistake either way. Even if Missing Link was to come out, I would have enjoyed it. I would have ate it up. Trust me, I'm a Kingdom Hearts, like, I'm a big Kingdom Hearts nerd, but it would have been a mistake for the majority of the audience because I do think most people were not playing Missing Link after like a couple of months. And that might have even been, a reason to cancel it. The game didn't have any buzz, any hype. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I had to deliberately, as a YouTuber, if I put Missing Link in the title of one of my videos, it got less views than if I just said this new Kingdom Hearts game that's coming soon. Like, straight up, I feel like people just were not interested in Missing Link that much. Like, it sucks. I think there's a lot of mobile game fans, a lot of people who followed the Key Saga were, even some people who saw the combat were like, I'll give it a try. But the longevity of these mobile games is the main thing that's always in question when we're talking about making these things canon to a story. We, like a couple of years into Union Cross, after Key Browser, we're already saying, bro, what if this was animated? What will we get a Key back cover style for Union Cross? If only a couple of years into your game, people are already asking for remakes, already asking for voice acting, already asking for it to be made in like higher fidelity, that's a problem. And that's really the main issue when it comes to making mobile games canon. If they weren't canon, like, and this got canceled, it would suck. And we'd have more of a conversation about, man, this would have been a really fun mobile game. But because it was canon and because we know it was going to be attached, even if loosely, even if in vague nature, be attached in some way, shape, or form to KH4, to the Lost Master Saga, the foundation for the Lost Master Saga is the Key Saga. Like, the Master about to be the main villain. Like, I feel like just because of that, that's why it's even a discussion. That's why.
Honestly, with I agree. I do agree. And I do think that Missing Link probably would have had a hard time, like, picking up like any sort of positive momentum when it came to player base. And that mainly just has to do with the fact that folks, a lot of people only really follow the Kingdom Hearts story more or less in a mainstream setting.
Yes.
Right. And what I mean by that is if it's not on the current big console, they're not playing it. Right. And because they're not playing it, they don't expect it to be relevant, unfortunately. Right. I mean, Chain of Memories was the first example of that. A lot of people did not play Chain of Memories before going into Kingdom Hearts 2. Granted, you were going to be confused going into Kingdom Hearts 2 to begin with, but if you play Chain of Memories, you would at least understand why Sora was asleep in that pod. You would already know who Naminé and Axel are. You would already be familiar with the organization. And you would also understand why they're called Organization 13, but you don't run into all 13 members, unless, of course, you're playing Final Mix. And then, obviously, with 358, Birth by Sleep, Recoded, Dream Drop Distance, it ended up just making a lot of people just frustrated with the series. And Like, there were some people that didn't play any of those games and only bought Kingdom Hearts 3, and they only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. So then they were like mad because they were like, I have no idea what's happening in Kingdom Hearts 3. But like, dude, you missed so much between 2 and 3. So unfortunately, Missing Link probably would have been in that same circumstance of people not wanting to play that game, especially since it's a mobile game, because obviously with the reactions of Charlotte Zia, a lot of people did not play the mobile games. They didn't care for the mobile games. They didn't want to play the mobile games. In fact, the saving grace when it comes to people knowing the mobile games and story is thanks to our buddy Damo.
Yeah, you
Like,
have Damo.
just wholeheartedly, it's thanks to him.
Yeah, Damo, Secret Reports, Everglow, Cage Insider, like the people who have been surrounded in the Union Cross community. Some people, I don't make an effort to explain the story like crazy, but some people have told me that they've watched Union Cross via my reactions a lot before. So I don't know, just that fandom like has definitely helped a lot in pushing the lore out there. But even
Like, if it
then,
wasn't some of us making theories, it was Damo making like his explanations on every story update when they came out,
yeah,
or yeah, like something along those lines.
yep. The thing is, like, I give credit to all those people for that. The sucky part is, it's just not enough for like the general audience. It's not like for everyone. It is something though. It is like it's significant. It has helped thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people potentially get into the lore, refresh themselves on the lore. But ultimately, that's a small number of people compared to what Square Enix probably wants out of Kingdom Hearts' sales. Uh, these mobile games, I'd be willing to bet like they're any no I would put any mainline Kingdom Hearts game against it and say people probably know those stories more than they do the key stories. Like I'd even put Recoded, Days, the movie titles like above, like Union Cross, Dark Road. I think they're that niche within our fandom because yes, you see the download, like over 10 million plus people download Union Cross. I'm guaranteeing you, like maybe not guaranteeing, but I'm willing to bet like barely even a million like finished the story like all the way through. Probably not even. Like it's probably a really small margin of people that did. And then on top of that, it's probably even smaller margin of people that finished Union Cross's story and then also finished Dark Road. And then also we're interested in Missing Link on top of that. Like I feel like the same people who are always committed to these mobile games are the same ones who are going to play Missing Link. But it's hard to say if it was going to grow. And they were making a lot of efforts to make it grow. They were making a lot. They gave the game controller support. They made the game look and feel like a actual Kingdom Hearts game, despite the gacha systems, despite the figures. They gave the game voice acting, something I applauded and something that I was very excited about vocally. I've made so many videos, streams talking about it. But despite all that, it didn't seem like there was a lot of momentum, a lot of hype behind it. And apparently this game was in development for like 6 years, like since like I want to say a little bit after KH3. We saw in the developer portfolio that this game was inspired off of one of the mini games in KH3, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Toy Box mini games. Sorry if I forget exactly which one, but we saw that in one of the developers' portfolios, and apparently the game was also running on Unreal Engine 5, which was really impressive, which actually gives me a little more confidence that maybe because it's on the same engine as KH4, maybe what needs to be integrated can be easily integrated into KH4, right? Since they're on the same exact engine. But that's theoretical, of course. It just kind of sucks because I think no one wanted to wait 3 years for a mobile game. It was obviously alarming when the game didn't come out like a year after it was announced, because I can't think of a time ever. There's been like a 3-year like hype cycle for a mobile game, quote unquote hype. I feel like 1 year in, it was like, okay, they're putting a lot of effort into this game. We got that trailer at the end of 2023 that announced the release window for 2024. And then 2024 rolled around. We got a little beta in April. We never got a US beta or a beta outside of certain regions, unfortunately. Then it was pretty much we were ghosted like that entire summer. We were hoping Missing Link will release during that summer after that beta. No info. No info for the rest of the year. Then around like I want to say end October, November ish is when they said, "Oh, Missing Link's not making this 2024 release window; is being delayed." 2025 rolls around, and 5 months into 2025, it's canceled. It sucks. Everything around Missing Link sucks. Like even though I've been saying, excuse me, it's a net positive that Missing Link got canceled. I still don't feel good about it. I think it's good that people don't have to like play mobile games potentially to experience mainstream Kingdom Hearts stories, but I still wanted it. I still wanted to play it. I still was excited about it. I still wanted to like experience that story, see that world. I love Kingdom Hearts. Like it just sucks. Like everything around like that thing sucks. And then don't even start on the screenshots. I love the screenshots, but ooh, we're gonna save that for a little later. I've been talking a while.
So honestly, I think unfortunately with Missing Link, this was just a case of Square just being too ambitious, maybe, which is weird for me to say when it comes to Square, just because yeah, they're pretty ambitious, but oftentimes they see their ambition through to the end, right? Like, and just going back to canceled Kingdom Hearts games, the only other times I could think where a Kingdom Hearts game was just full on never came out after maybe an announcement or a trailer or anything, right? Just straight up canceled games was Kingdom Hearts Fragmented Keys, which was a purely Disney mobile game, which apparently would have featured Star Wars in it. And then there's also Birth by Sleep Volume 2. Anyone that doesn't know, if when you play Birth by Sleep and you finish the secret episode with Aqua, when she stumbles across the Castle of Dreams, which is obviously the beginning of 0.2, it shows a whole bunch of different clips that like don't really seem to fit together, but was obviously going to be a part of a game. Like it showed Kyrie with the Twilight Town gang at the old mansion. It showed Diz kind of putting his code inside of Sora. It showed Riku looking or like watching over Roxas and Shion while they were in the organization. It showed a whole bunch of different clips, right? And it ended it by calling it Birth by Sleep Volume 2. So there was going to be a direct sequel to Birth by Sleep that wasn't 0.2 a fragmentary passage. Now, I will say that, if anything, it turned into 0.2 just because the first line you see when they start that whole thing is a fragmentary passage. And they also show Mickey in the Realm of Darkness in his Chain of Memories outfit, which leads me to think like this was also going to show Mickey in the Realm of Darkness while like when he met Aqua and how he knows she's in the Realm of Darkness to begin with, right? So they turned all of Birth by Sleep Volume 2 into just the fragmentary passage stuff to explain how Mickey met Aqua in the Realm of Darkness, which is just meant to be just a tech demo for Kingdom Hearts 3 and a prologue to Kingdom Hearts 3 itself, right? But like I said earlier, things like this with Kingdom Hearts don't happen often. So when it does happen, it's shocking to the fans, right? I mean, I've said this before. I was getting a guild together for Missing Link.
Yeah, no, Noir right. did say that to me multiple times. Like, he's probably mentioned it on podcasts before too, but he's also said to me plenty of times in private, like, we need to have the biggest Missing Link guild. And I was down. I was totally down for that. I love the Union Cross community.
Whole guild.
Yeah.
My dreams have been crushed.
Dude, I was over here in the background, I was talking to Matt, Dax, like all these other Kingdom Hearts YouTubers, and I was talking to them about like collabs and potential things we could do when Missing Link comes out. Because one thing I was very excited for was the IRL features, and like like all the popular like streamers, influencers, a lot of them do IRL like stream content, the Kai Cenats, DDGs, etc. Um, and like it's fun, like it's fun to watch. We're not into that type of content, I get it, but I was thinking to myself like, okay, hold on, like Kingdom Hearts has never really had a reason to do content like for gaming creators, like outside of like just covering the game, commentary over the game, reacting to the game, playing the game, theorizing maybe. But I thought Missing Link was a potential chance to have an excuse to like bring some IRL content to like the community, like doing IRL streams, like, hey, we're walking around town, let's clear this area, like fight this Heartless and Missing Link, this big raid, yada yada. And there was I did a little deep. Literally, the video before Missing Link got canceled was a video where I was gassing up and talking about how excited and interested I was in the GPS feature of the game, and then the game gets canceled, and I'm like, wow. And I had a lot of thoughts about it. I live streamed like basically immediately when I saw it, and I let a lot of my. If you want to go back to that stream, you can see my raw, I guess, unfiltered, my developing thoughts around that game. Because it's a lot. Like I said earlier, I didn't want the game to get canceled, man. But I didn't want the game to get canceled, and I would have loved to have played the game, but I also was tired, a little bit tired of like having to try and convince people to play Union Cross. Like it almost felt like work trying to convince people to play these games, bro. Like there's YouTubers I know, popular YouTubers, way bigger than me, that I know who have not played Union Cross, who have not experienced any of that story, and they borderline refuse to because it's not Kingdom Hearts to some people. That's not what Kingdom Hearts is. Like or they see it as inconsequential. And Miss Lynn's cancellation kind of validates those people even more. And that kind of sucks, but it's also like, if I think I will be significantly more annoyed at Miss Lynn's cancellation, like significantly, like if we don't get a remaster remake. And I think we should probably transition to that discussion. What's the next step
For Missing Link?
Yeah, Missing Link, the Key Saga as a
Um,
whole, because the Key Saga is broken now. It's broken a little bit.
yeah, it kind of is. And I would say the best thing that can happen for Missing Link and the rest of the Key Saga is make a short movie, right? So obviously it will probably be longer than back cover, but you need to make a film or some sort of media to allow people to consume the story without making a full-blown game, right? And because here's the thing, back cover does a good enough job to like introduce some concepts of Key and some key characters in Key to like the regular console players, anyone that has played 2.8 on their console but have never played Union Cross. Because if you play 2.8 before playing Kingdom Hearts 3, but you never played Union Cross, you would still know about stuff in the Key Saga. You know about Daybreak Town, you know about the Foretellers, you know about the Master, you know about Lushu, you know about the Black Box, right? You know a good amount of stuff just from back cover, right? Obviously, with the whole actual Keyblade War, Dark Chirithy, Strelitzia, the murder mystery, and Ventus being in there, Larium, Elarena, all that stuff that had to do with specifically Union Cross and the late stages of Key, you were not shown in back cover. So I think what should happen is, and this will probably be a lot for them to do, but I think this is the best case, or like the best way to do it is they show a story, or like they make a movie that goes over the final chapters of Kingdom Hearts Key, the whole Keyblade War. So yes, animate the Keyblade War. they can skip over a lot of the story retelling that was in Union Cross, since that was basically the first half of Union Cross, and just go straight into the whole this is a data world, Strelitzia and her death, right? Retell that as well, and then tell the story of Missing Link, right? If you make a movie about that, that is fine, right? And they could, and what a lot of people in the community have suggested is they make that and they attach it into a package with Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind attached and Melody and Memory. That would essentially make a Kingdom Hearts 3.5.
I knew I was about to hear it. Where is this Kingdom Hearts 3.5 coming from? Is this like off of a leak someone made or something? I've been hearing that a lot.
This is from what I understand, this is not based off a leak. This is just the fact that because of how much time has passed between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Melody and Memory to when we're eventually going to get Kingdom Hearts 4, and just also the fact that now Missing Link, that you have built up to be a part of this story leading into KH4, and now people won't be able to get it. The best course of action, just to make sure that everyone knows what they're getting into when they play Kingdom Hearts 4, is because obviously a lot of people played Kingdom Hearts 3, right? But a lot of people didn't play Remind, because unfortunately with Kingdom Hearts 3 getting a lot of backlash from certain types of fans, they're like, I don't want to spend any more money to get the DLC. So, and of course, they didn't buy the rhythm game because it's like, this isn't even a real Kingdom Hearts game. It's just a rhythm game. So realistically, there are a lot of fans that are going to go into Kingdom Hearts 3 without playing Remind, which I think you and I can both agree is extremely necessary getting into Kingdom Hearts 4. And obviously Melody and Memory, which is also extremely necessary for getting into Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah. You know, I want to bring up the question. Do you think Kingdom Hearts Union Cross should be like do you think it should be that, or like a movie, or part of 3.5, or would you prefer that they go full force and make a game? And the reason I ask this is because, in my opinion, I think the first thing to do right now, focus on KH4. Don't even worry about Missing Link. Don't even worry about remastering or like saying, like, I don't know, like picking up the crumbs from that project. Focus on KH4. Focus on the thing that you know every fan wants. Even during Missing Link, most fans, like, they mostly just cared about 4. Missing Link was just the side piece, the thing that tied you over till 4. First thing they need to do after KH4, though, remaster the Key Saga, like as a whole. Dark Road, Union Cross, whatever Missing Link was about to be, do it all. Call it the Key Trilogy or whatever. That's the first thing they need to do. But do you think it should be movies or games?
I think it should be, I mean, obviously I say focus on Kingdom Hearts 4, right? But a lot of people said the same thing after 2.5, and people were like, oh, are they going to remake Dream Drop Distance? And people are like, don't focus on that. Let's just focus on Kingdom Hearts 3. But obviously we got 2.8.
Yeah. Well, the way they used the remixes, actually, they said this when the remixes were coming out. Because Osaka team had already been working on like some Kingdom Hearts titles from KH1 to, I'm not KH1. They were working on like games like Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop. They were also like part of the Osaka team was on hand. Like I'm pretty sure Tayasue, the co-director for Kingdom Hearts, like he came on board mostly around when Recoded like first initially came out, because a lot of the ones with U Team, which was Hand, came over and started working on Recoded, and that team, like part of that team, kind of turned into the Osaka team, like long term for Kingdom Hearts. But they used, because the Osaka team was planned to be the main developers for KH3, they used the remixes as a way to kind of hire new people and bring new people on board, while also getting them used to how a number title like traditionally operates, which I think like was a good decision, because KH3 I think turned out extremely good considering like what you saw before. I love Recode. I love Birth by Sleep. I loved Dream Drop Distance. I love the non-numbered titles, but KH3 by a large margin is like definitely higher quality. Like it feels, even if you think KH2 is better, KH1's better, it stands among them. Like it's among like the number titles. Like those are like the holy grail of KH.
Yeah, I mean, the number titles will always be looked at with way more attention than the side games. And I mean, I was kind of talking about this earlier with how people approach consuming the series and how there's a lot of people that don't play the side games and they just go straight to the number titles, which obviously kind of ruins everyone's experience when they play the number titles because you don't know everything that's going on. But how do I put this? It's kind of awkward. I don't know if that's the right word. When people like try to avoid the side titles because they basically like they view it as a spin-off,
Yeah.
right? And we've had this discussion in the community for years now. Like what constitutes a spin-off, what constitutes a side game. And I think regular Pat straight up did a whole video breaking down the two types of games and then going over each non-numbered title and was like, okay, like this is more of a side game than it is a spin-off because this does include Sora or this does include main concept in the series that is talked about later on, right? That is important to the story, right? So this isn't some spin-off because a spin-off implies that the consequences and everything that happens in that story are self-contained, or more or less they don't affect the rest of the series. So, for example, for anyone that doesn't know this and anyone that does know this show, anyone that knows show Family Matters, you know, Steve Urkel and everyone, the wife or the mom of that show, Harriet, she originally started out as a side character in another sitcom. But then they took that character and made Family Matters. It's a spin-off of that sitcom. But obviously, what happens in Family Matters does not affect that other sitcom. That's what makes it a spin-off. But what happens in 358 has consequences that affect the rest of the series. What happens in Recoded, even though a lot of people would argue this, does have things that affect the rest of the series. Same for Breath by Sleep, same for Dream Drop Distance. They're all side games. They're not spin-offs.
Yeah. Um I think I think most people realize nowadays, like when someone says the word spinoff, like I know most of the time they don't actually mean like non-canon, not important. They just mean non-numbered title. That's why most of the community has tried to avoid the word spinoff, and the reason is because of trauma. Straight up, like in the 2010s, we had so many fans, especially during the era where games were not remastered yet. Before their collections, a lot of fans had not played Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop, had not played Days, Coded. Like it was scattered. It was so scattered. Like there was a lot of people there was a lot of people who only played those games. They didn't grow up with the PS2 or they didn't grow up with a DS or something, like, so they only played BBS. Maybe they only grew up with a PSP and a PS2, so they didn't play the DS games. There was a lot of fans that were not on the same page, and because of this, there was a lot of people who only played the most popular titles, KH1, KH2, and anything aside from that was a spin-off, not canon, didn't matter, whereas KH3. But we had to make that very clear. That is not the case. And I think it's very obvious now that's not the case. And we, like, I don't know. I don't get super caught up if people use the word spinoff because it's like, as long as you know, like, it's canon, I don't care how you refer to it. It's like, spinoff does feel a little derogatory sometimes, but I try not to think about it that deep. I,
Oh no, I've always been a stickler for using the right word. I've always been a stickler for that.
yeah, and I get that. I totally do. I wanted to go back to a question I asked earlier though, because we didn't quite get on that topic too much, but how do you think they should remaster Eden Cross, Dark Road, Missing Link?
Oh, how should they remaster it?
Like games, movies, like what is the most effective way to tell that story in your opinion?
I'd say a movie
Why movie over game?
because I would say movie over a game just because in order to remake Union Cross, you either have to totally change up its function as it already existed, or you have to somehow adapt it to modern consoles, right? So, like for example, porting over uh, Chain of Memories from the Game Boy to PlayStation 2 and then eventually 3 and 4. Like, obviously, they were able to do it, but there were a lot of changes that needed to be made in order to keep the same familiarity and structure that they already established in Chain of Memories on GBA and make sure it ported over well to console. Because, and this was something that really threw me off when I first ever played Rechain, is the fact that the lock-on button is no longer the bumpers, but rather the trigger buttons. That's an adjustment I had to make when playing Rechain, and that's just
You
because the way they
Rechain
structured Chain of
fans.
Memories, the Game Boy only had bumpers, and the bumpers were the way to cycle through your cards.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's probably just easier on resources to just make a movie than it is to make a full-on game.
Yeah. If you ask me, I would definitely prefer a game, but if we're talking about like resource like if a game significantly delays KH5, I'll just take the movie. But I would like a game. And I do actually think if they want to go with these multiplayer concepts, I genuinely think a lot of these stories are short enough. You can make one big game out of the Key Saga. Just make one big 20 to 30 hour game out of the Key Saga. Make it like a pseudo anthology type of story. Get some BBS action going on here, and you have one story be Union Cross. You have one story be Missing Link. One story be Dark Road to end it off, and that's the BBS game. But it might not work that exact way. I was thinking make a game and put most of your resources towards just telling the main story with a little bit of gameplay, some bosses in between. And the main gameplay loop of the game would be very similar to Union Cross. You take a selection of Disney worlds that are in Union Cross, Agrabah, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Wreck-It Ralph, right? You 3D model them, and you don't even have to tell the story in those worlds. But similar to Chain of Memories, use those stories as just places to level grind, places to collect your items, missions, and you have this system where you can't do the next story until you get to X level, Y level, and but it's still a fun gameplay. That might sound a little annoying, but I feel like it'd be cool. You can maybe even make it multiplayer, like low key, like have take all those worlds that you can cross and just grind them, do like little raid events, but you still have the main story there. It's not a gotcha game. It's not some free to play. It's not some live service. It's a normal, like single player Kingdom Hearts game, but it has a multiplayer element where you can go to these other worlds. I could totally see a 3D Union Cross. Like I could totally see it. Like in my opinion, honestly, I can see it so well that I might actually make a video. I might make that a project. That might be one of the next big projects I do. Just Union Cross reimagined. It's never going to get made. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be It's going to be Chirithy narrating the story of Union Cross, like like he did for the other stories in KH3. But it's I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's actually funny that you bring that up because, and this is something that like I always thought was weird, but was never really addressed. And it was that if you look at the files of Kingdom Hearts 3, there is a shot of Daybreak Town. Like, not just the castle broken underneath Scala, like full on Daybreak Town during the regular day, like you would see during back cover. Like, it's in the files of Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's never used.
I might need to
And I
search that
look
up.
at that. Oh, wait, what?
I might need to search that up. I don't remember. I feel like I remember hearing something about that, but I don't remember seeing it.
Look that up, because it's actually there. I think, who was it? 13th Vessel, I think, found it in the files. Shout out 13th Vessel. I think I actually used it in a video. I think before Remind came out, I made a video going over what I thought the secret episode was going to be. And I think I used that photo just to like make sense of it being in the resources.
You know, I actually
Trying to look it up now.
I see what you're talking about. Okay, I actually do see this. Is it that like kind of sort of blurry screenshot? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I do remember seeing.
like
this.
it's weird. It's never addressed.
I mean, it was data mined for a reason. Probably wasn't meant to be there. Probably was supposed to be part of some flashback segment or something. But
It's still something that needs to be addressed.
that's fascinating for sure. I definitely feel like Scarlet Con was probably going to include a little bit more like Daybreak Town, like sort of elements. I feel like Daybreak Town was meant to be like a big part of like KH3's build up, but like they probably just decided to do stuff for it later. Well, honestly, that's a very interesting point to end the episode off with. What are your final thoughts on Missing Link's cancellation?
Honestly, a part of me will always have wanted to play Missing Link. A part of me will have always wanted to make that guild. And a part of me will have always wanted to see what that story would tell. But we just have to suck it up, realize we're not going to get it, and move on.
Yeah, pretty much. On to KH4. Hopefully KH4... Hopefully KH4 is so good it masks the disappointment of Missing Link being canceled.
Hopefully it shows up at TGS.
Are we doing this again? Are we about to do another clown live stream for TGS?
No, we already got one in store. I'm already working on it.
You know, I actually do hope it's at TGS. You guys know Noir actually really thought it was going to be at Summer Games Fest, and I did want it to be there. I thought it was 50-50, but I wasn't banking on it, but I was definitely hoping it would be. Noir is actually doing a clown. He's doing a live stream dressed up in a clown costume for Summer Games Fest. When are you doing that?
Soon. I'm working on it now.
Gotcha. So make sure you guys subscribe to Noir. He's always linked in the description down below. With that, though, this was a fun episode. Well, fun-ish, because we're talking about, obviously, a doomy topic and Missing Link being canceled, but it's always nice doing a podcast episode. It's been like a month since we recorded one of these, but we're going to bang these out again pretty soon. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I really appreciate you guys. My name is Prodigy.
My name's Roy Lowbomber.
And remember to be nice, be safe, and take care, everyone.